Everybody ready? Okay, here we go. Good morning, everybody. The name of that song is Baby Won't You Please Come Home, written in 1919 by Charles Warfield and Clarence Williams. And there was a bit of contention going on that Clarence Warfield claimed that he wrote the entire melody, but Clarence Warfield said he wrote the entire melody and the other guy disputed it, and a little bit of small time stuff there. Now, this is a jazz standard written in 1919 and is absolutely played all over the place by Dixieland bands, jazz bands, and, just performed in general. So there you go. It's another memorable melody written, and I thought you'd enjoy hearing about that. So, as a matter of fact, Ray Charles recorded it, Louis Armstrong, Frank Sinatra sang it. So much for that. Now, I ask you, where do you go on the internet or TV and have a guy come on who's playing a trumpet or a cornet? This happens to be a cornet, looks like a trumpet. Some old standard, maybe 50 or 100 years old. And he's going to host an interview show. I'll tell you where you go. You come right here, Life After Scientology, and I'm your host, Ron Miscavige. So that's how we like to introduce these shows, with a little bit of, cultural enrichment, a little bit of music, which always makes people feel better, I think. And this morning we have on one of my special people, and per your comments, you come in and tell us that you love this person, and she's just a wealth of information and a wonderful person to hear, because she's telling the truth, and I just enjoy her company as well as being a guest on the show. So today I'd like to bring back my good friend, Carriere. Karen, good morning.
Good morning, Ron. Hello, everybody.
Okay, so what I'd like to talk about today, and we went over this, so it's not a surprise to you, and I think our listeners would enjoy hearing. And by the way, as long as you're listening and I have your attention, if you're going to become a patron, please do it today. There's a push on for us to get more patrons to help support the show, and also more subscribers. So if you could, think of some way you could get some other group to start listening. I'd like to get the show to be about 10 times bigger than it is right now, so we have more and more people getting enlightened on the abuses of the Church of Scientology. Anyway, with that business out of the way, what I would like to talk about, and you would like to talk about also, is this. There are people who have given the Church of Scientology $1 million or more and ended up being declared suppressive persons or antisocial personalities. Now, these two things don't match up, but it does happen. And welcome to the insanity of the thinking of the Church of Scientology, who would take $1 million from somebody and then, for one reason or another, say, you're a suppressive person. But they keep the money. And I think we'd like to start off with Jody Kincaid, which I'd love to hear this story, Karen.
Well, Jody Kincaid was a veterinarian. And Ron, you and I know that Scientology has a predator factor in them. They prey on chiropractors, veterinarians, and dentists. These are cash businesses that see clients all day long, cash payment, cash. So there's cash flow. It isn't some manufacturing where it has to go through, and then eventually you get paid, 3-month delay, 90 days window. This is cash immediately. And Scientology management buy the mailing lists and promise incredible things to vets, dentists, and chiropractors. We will increase your business by 100 new patients a month. Would you like that? We will give you L. Ron Hubbard policies on how to really run your vet office, or your dental office, whatever. And dentists get sucked in, veterinarians get sucked in, chiropractors get sucked in. And there are some, if you go to YouTube and put Scientology dentist, you will see some videos. People who feel they were completely frauded and their businesses went awry. Not only did the businesses not expand. So the same thing happens with veterinarians. Jody Kincaid was simply, I think his practice was actually in Arizona near the Texas border, somewhere there, and he was milked for $1 million. But what I get reports from everyone, and people write to me because my email address is right out there, karendelac@gmail.com. And the cult turned on him when he wouldn't pay more. They felt this million, come on, you're making tons of cash.
You know what, Karen, look, we talk about them milking people. Why don't you get into a little bit of the procedure? How do they do this? I mean, do they come to your business? Do they come to your home? What
They often send a gang, a posse, a gang of 4 or a gang of 3. So it's 3 against 1. They show up at the business. They show up at your home at 11 o'clock at night. And they will not leave, even if they are at your home till 3 in the morning. You literally have to threaten that you'll call the police to get them to leave. And I know of many people who have sent away these sharks, these vulture salespeople, by threatening to call police. But they arrive, and when I say milk, it's high sales pressure, high pressure sales. And they give this incredible spin that these people who give are being altruistic, that they're going to be, that they're philanthropists, they're donating for the betterment of the planet, they're doing good for mankind. They literally make the person labeled as the philanthropist of the year. Just give the money and we'll do all this good. Rubbish. The money goes to protect the cult with A-lister lawyers and private detectives and a host and slew of people to air cover them for their dirty deeds and criminality. That's where a lot of the money goes.
Yeah. And you know what, Karen?
They're doing nothing for the planet.
No, you just gave me, with that little talk you gave, a little bit of insight into why this might be dentists, chiropractors, and veterinarians. Now, look, a person could go into that business, you know, to make a good living, which is nothing wrong with that. There's everything wrong with being poor and everything right with making a good, comfortable living and even getting rich. I can see no fault in it. But what is the common denominator between all 3 of these? Between chiropractic, veterinarian, and dentist? They want to help people. So they have I think, this is just my own realization just now in the last couple of minutes, they have a big button on help. So if these regs, these salespeople, these vultures, press this, like, you'll be helping people live a better life, you'll be helping children from human trafficking, you'll be helping, I think that has a lot to do with how they can sucker these people into giving them money. It's just my personal observation just in the last few minutes. What do you think?
Yes. Uh, uh, I mean, the new Impact magazine came out, and
Yeah.
I was just shaking my head in disbelief. A whole new slew of suckers who had these grandiose titles: Platinum, Meritorious,
Yeah.
Humanitarian, and they carry these plaques, and all it is their bank account is less $1 million, $2 million, $5 million.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
That's all
I'm,
it is.
I'm sure all these people
Hogwash.
have a button
What
on,
is the
but
state of the planet?
right. It just seems like these three groups might have quite a big button on that. So when they get talked into with, as you
Helping.
say,
Good point.
pressure, unbelievable pressure, and the Regis are that way, that they're helping, that'll soften them up to start giving money. Anyway, I'm
Some people
up in
find
your
it
right now.
really hard to say no when they're being pleaded for money. There are people. Jody Kincaid gave them $1 million.
Yeah.
He was a veterinarian, and there's another time they kept coming back for more and coming back for more. And this hilarious tale is his wife came out with a loaded rifle, pointing at these.
Well,
Literally, she actually came with a loaded rifle at them for imposing themselves at all hours of the day and night for more money, more money, more money. Anyway, after sucking out $1 million from Jody Kincaid, veterinarian, they declared him a suppressive person. And that means that he was an antisocial personality, a real evil. It's suppressive person means you're evil.
yeah.
And of course, propaganda by definition of the words, the cult, if you speak out, you and I are evil because we give knowledge and data to the masses.
Yeah.
We're speaking out about the cult, therefore we are evil. That's the definition of evil.
Yeah.
Speaking against Scientology means evil. So Jody Kincaid, Lord have mercy, he did not speak out. He didn't. He gave money, and there it is. Now, the reason where it is unbelievable how people, first of all, us give $1 million.
Yeah.
Think of how much work you have to do with the taxes one has to pay. And
That,
40%,
no,
right?
that represents a hell of a amount of work.
And to give $1 million. Now, another tragic story is a guy who started Los Gatos Mission called Joey Alessandrini. And mission holders were big targets. The cult seemed to be incredibly jealous that they were making money and making. The cult believes your money, or a huge percentage of it, is their money. They truly believe that. It's almost like, you know how mafia thugs that had a certain area would just go to that grocery store, or and you had to give your cut.
Yeah.
Whatever you made that week, if you wanted protection on the street, your cut went to the mob.
Right.
Scientology acts like that. They want your cut of your weekly earnings. You make money. What are you giving the cult today? Now. Boy, do they have vampire teeth on your cash. It is beyond belief. The greed is beyond belief. So Joey Alessandrini started Los Gatos Mission, and who knows what the different things were, but he gave $1 million.
Wait,
And
well, before we go any further, that name rings a bell. Did he ever get awarded a Freedom Medal?
no, I don't think so.
Okay, because
Well, I don't know all the freedom. No, I don't think so. I know that they grabbed his bank accounts, they drained him, they milked him, they destroyed his marriage, they stole his mission to convert it into an org, and and then they said, if he does the steps of A to E, maybe they'll put him back in good standing.
Wow.
And he did. He worked for 2 years on A to E. These steps are like a formula of different actions you must do if you want to beg and plead to go back to that.
Mm.
Step A is, I think it's studying some of Hubbard's doctrines. B means you must openly declare all your criminal acts for public display. You must say how deluded you were to be critical of the Church of Scientology. And you did this show and you did that show and you talked to this journalist and you whistleblowed to this author, blah, blah, blah. You have to itemize time, place, form, and event of anything and everything you ever did against the
say that you were all at fault, that nothing of it was true. You were all telling false things. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Anyway, it goes on and on and on. These are different steps. And one thing Joey thought in his mind is that if he continued to give more money, he would curry favor and get back in good standing.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? After $1 million and after them taking all his assets, they redeclared him suppressive person.
Wow.
So he did all his A to E believing in a delusion. And of course, they kept the money. When they kick you to the curb, there is no refund. Even if you paid that money for a membership. Look, Ron, if you join a local club, let's say you join a local polo club.
Right.
And then they decide, you know what, we're closing, we've got too many members, there's not enough horses, we don't want you here, but here's your money back.
Oh yeah, that would be
a normal ethical entity. If they kick you out and say you can't be a member, here's your membership fee back.
Yeah.
Scientology cult never refunds the money you give. It's gone with the wind.
Well, I'll tell you, it's even worse than that. If I can just throw this 2 cents in, and that is this. For you to apply for a refund, you have to do a routing form. And in order to do that routing form, you have to go into an org. But if you're declared a suppressive person, you're not allowed into the org. So you can't do the routing form. And it wouldn't make any difference. You wouldn't get your money back anyway. But that's the catch-22. Yes, we will take a routing form, but you can't come into the org. But by the way, just getting back to Joey Alessandrini, I think it was him. He got a Freedom Medal. And when he went on stage, he didn't say what he was supposed to say in the script. And when he walked off the stage, they took the Freedom Medal away from him. I think that was the guy. Because he had a booming mission. And
yes.
There's not 2 Joey Alessandrinis. I think that was what happened to him.
Joey is now in a state of immobility. He's had a couple of strokes. This is the end of the road for a guy who devoted his life to the cult, tried to boom his own area by these lower level. He worked and worked. So he got two declares as an evil suppressive person. And he had done everything. He had 3 L's, he had Ned-Frotees, he exorcised his BTs, these attached body things, he did everything the cult asked of him. And he now is broken and penniless. It's a true cult success story. This is what happens when you become a devotee and you can't see the wood for the trees.
Yeah. It's terrible, but look, how many stories like this do we have to hear for there to be one politician who has some clout, some juice, to say, hey, wait a minute, I've heard enough. Let's just investigate this Church of Scientology and see if they are actually a church and if they do help people and it's a benefit to the community. Anybody with 2 cents worth of brains who starts investigating is going to see that all these different programs like mine, like Mike Rinder's blog, like The Aftermath with Leah, Chris Shelton, you name it, they're not making up these stories. None of us are. We have people come on who tell stories that are true. It's a platform for people to talk about this. And if any politician can just gut up, look in the mirror and say, well, I'm going to do something good for society today. I'm just going to investigate the Church of Scientology. That would be a little bit of a crack in the dam, and it would help everybody.
Well, the lawsuits are coming. The lawsuits are coming.
Well,
can't wait. I did want to just throw in a couple of Orange County. You know what, Ron? There are a bundle of people who've given $1 million or more.
Wow.
And they've all been put to the curb, and they've all been declared evil suppressive persons. I would like to mention Luis Garcia in Orange County, who gave easily over $1 million. And Luis did everything all the way up to OT8, the highest spiritual level you can attain. And he wrote this famous letter from Garcia, which got posted on Rathwin's blog. Anyway, Luis gave $350,000 for Orange County Org to be remodeled into what they call Ideal Org. And the plaque was there of all the Orange County wealthy people who donated, and Lewis's name was there. But when they declared him evil suppressive person, they redid the plaque and removed his name and let him know that he was not to attend the opening. This new flashy building, $350,000 of the renovations was his money, but he wasn't allowed to attend. But they kept the money. They keep the money. They're so crooked. They're crooked because they don't have any sense of fair exchange.
Yeah.
How dare they keep somebody else's money that they've now told, broadcast to the world, is now an evil person? It doesn't even make sense. How can you can't process it? Why would an evil person give them $1 million?
Well, I'll tell you how they can get away with it, because nobody does anything about it effective. Well, I mean, this is effective. What's going on here, exposing them, and many of the other people, as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, that is effective, and it just got to keep on going on until someday somebody somewhere who has a little bit of clout was going to say, hang on, what the hell is going on here? Anyway, go on.
Ned McCrink, a friend of Luis Garcia. Ned McCrink, Orange County, got a big inheritance, $1 million. The way the pressure, the absolute pressure of the salespeople is beyond anything you can imagine. I mean, so Ned McCrink is another example, donating and donating and donating. It's not like a check is written for $1 million. Like, it's in increments.
Yeah.
Once you give them $250,000, they're back.
Yeah.
And their philosophy is, he who gives can give more. So Ned McCrink and Luis Garcia were probably the most famous in Orange County, which is the county immediately south of Los Angeles County. They were just famous in Scientology circles. Ned McCrink was in for 40 years. 40 years. They didn't know for 40 years that he was an evil being. But after they got the $1 million,
then they realized it, right?
Then they realized this.
Oh, here's the thinking. Okay, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He just gave $1 million. Hang on a second. I just realized that guy's a suppressive person. We better declare him. Cha-chink, the money is in their pocket. See you later, sucker.
You see, I love person. See, I served them for 40, I was in 40 years, right?
I was in 42
40
years.
years, I was staff.
Yeah.
But, I was either voluntary staff at St. Hill or a CO for 20 years. And they didn't know for 40 years that I was a suppressive person.
I know.
It took them 40 years.
They finally took the blinders off and realized how bad you were,
Right. They were very happy to have me do slave labor and work 60 hours a week for
And
years
how much
and years.
How much money did you make for them delivering the L?
Oh, just
We're
God.
talking about millions of dollars on that alone.
Right.
And you delivered them in French too, didn't you?
I delivered. I'm bilingual, so I speak French. So I did deliver L's in French.
Wow.
Now, so this is the hypocrisy of it all, Ron. This is the hypocrisy. We talked about policy from a policy. It looks so good on paper.
Yeah.
Hubbard wrote tons of issues in policy, green on white, on the subject of exchange, and that you were not honorable when I'm putting it in colloquial language.
Yeah.
This is not the language in the policy letter, but basically, if you rip off someone, if you shortchange them, if you take, the definition of a thief is somebody who just takes without exchange.
Yeah.
He sees your car there, boom, he'll drive it off and steal it, and he thinks it's a win. He considers, wow, I can get cash for dismantling all the spare parts. So, or a thief that holds up a Wells Fargo bank and says to the teller, hand over the cash. There's no exchange. And Hubbard said, when you do not have exchange, it's rip-off, criminal, and it's the level of theft. Well, it looks glorious that Hubbard said all this, exchange, lots of policies on exchange. What does the cult do regarding exchange with money? It's rip-off.
Yeah.
It's downright theft. To take $1 million out of a human being and then put out an issue broadcasting to the world that he's an evil being, a suppressive person. It defies reality. I'm sure viewers can't process this. So veterinarians, chiropractors, and dentists are absolute prey.
Yeah.
And a lot of them rise up and make a lot of money. And the cult has learned to suck out that money for their bank accounts.
Wow.
But another lie, the cult never discloses that it's sitting around with $3 billion as it forces the poor victim to take out a second trust deed to give them a bunch of cash. They're not disclosing. This cult, my husband, Jeffrey Augustine, did research and found on the internet, all of this is on his, when you get him back, your next theme with Jeffrey should be the stockpiling of money, which is against IRS regulation. They don't give you a 501c3 for you to stockpile money, but they have stockpiled. Jeffrey found $3 billion sitting there in liquid cash. We're not talking about the value of property and the equity. We're talking about liquidity, liquid cash, $3 billion.
Like gold or dollar bills or euros, right?
So when they come preying on someone for more money, they do not run. They do not reveal how much they have stockpiled. That is completely, nobody thinks to ask, well, how much money do you have in the fridge? People have to know they have money. They keep buying more real estate.
Well, if
And
you
they pay in cash.
wait, but if you were to ask that question, that Reg would write a knowledge report on you, and you'd end up being interrogated as to why you asked that question.
Plus, you have to pay for the interrogation.
Yep.
So asking a question like that could cost you
Yep.
$25,000 in interrogations.
Yep, exactly.
Right.
And,
It's a
and
rigged
you may be
casino.
an SP, you know.
You know the phrase, it's a rigged casino and only the house wins. Well, if you want to translate that into Scientology, no matter what money you make, once you walk into the doors of the cult, that money, by God, will be siphoned out of you. And they know how to make you take out new credit cards. And they'll max those credit cards. Even if you say, no, my credit limit is, these are professionals that have learned to gouge and plunder. And actually, I like to call them looters.
Yeah.
They loot. They're looters. They loot you for your net worth. I just cannot emphasize this enough. For anyone who has a relative who's thinking about toying with the cult or whatever, you will be looted of your net worth. And then after the long journey and all the threats that they will take away your kids, and if you dare to speak out, your kids will never speak to you again, and your spouse will never, Bottom line is your money will be gone with the wind. That is, now, what is the lesson learned? Let's summarize. What lesson did you learn from this last half hour?
How will you put it? I got a take on it, but go on, Karen. You first.
Me first?
Yeah.
There's an old saying, a fool and his money are soon parted. You are a fool if you join a cult that starts preying on your bank accounts and your money and your net worth. You are a fool.
And I will only add one thing to that, and that is this, because I think you've summarized it. The hardest thing a person can do is to admit that he's a fool. There may be harder things, but that's pretty goddamn hard. So if this starts happening to you and you can't say I'm a fool, you're in for it. The hardest thing to do was look in the mirror and say, you know what? I'm a goddamn idiot. I'm a fool. I've been conned. But if you can do that, you can break it. If you can't, then you're in for the long run, and they will take all of your money. And maybe someday, if you say the wrong thing, when you start coming to your senses, they may declare you, and now you're suppressive. So you've gone the royal route in the Church of Scientology. Go in with the hope that you're going to help every man, woman, and child on this planet. Get turned around so you start giving money, and somebody else is going to do that for you. And they say they're doing it with not one shred of evidence that they're doing it. And maybe someday you're going to wake up and say, hey, hang on a second. This is a con.
You know, the big donations people give, even if they've only given 50,000, 100,000, Scientology is essentially a money extortion racket. It's a runaway money extortion racket. Beyond all this hoopla, we're going to take you higher and give you spiritual wisdom and enlightenment. That is the bottom line is they want your cash.
Yeah.
You know.
And you say if they only give 50 or 100,000,
it's a holder. The fact that you're already into it for $250,000, $500,000, that acts as even if you're starting to feel doubts, if you're starting to feel something smells here, something is wrong, something is just, look at the people here. They look like they're in fear. Look at the indicators of people sitting around inside one of their brick and mortar. These people are they're not happy. They're not, they look intimidated. Everybody is under a cloud of who's going to rat on who. So the fact that you've already donated a chunk acts as a holder.
Yep.
By holder, I mean, it's not so easy for you to walk away.
Nope.
When you've already given a huge donation.
Yeah.
It almost traps you.
Yeah, you want to keep on thinking that you're going to get handled on the next level. And that's going to keep you going after that carrot, which is you're never going to achieve it. I was in for over 40 years, and I never saw any person achieve some of these godlike abilities that they promised all along. And I mean, namely, the big one, exterior with full perception, not one person that I ever meet who achieved that. But you're right. The more you get involved, the more you're hooked in, because now you have more to lose, and it's becoming harder and harder for you to say, I'm a goddamn fool for getting involved in it. So I'm going to kind of go along with it, and hopefully it's going to change for the better. And you're hoping against hope that this is going to happen, and it ain't never going to happen.
I want to just define what you just said. Exterior with full perception. People won't understand that in a general audience.
All right.
Exterior means you leave your body. Exterior means you're outside the body or bigger than your body. And with full perception means you're no longer looking with human eyes. You can see a kind of a little satellite out there, and you can view from being detached from your body and outside your body. Again, this is just a bunch of hogwash.
Yeah.
Hubbard actually put in his own hand that if you had 3 L's, that if you had NL, he said, I never let anybody leave the Apollo without them having the state of exterior with full perception. Well, I'll tell you, I was the case supervisor of all of that for years, and it never happened. And every person introverted thinking, oh, maybe it's just me, maybe my case, maybe my baggage was, I never got that.
Yeah.
At the most, people got some delirious high, which lasted a few seconds.
Yeah.
And they got some altered perception, but nothing stable. Stable, my ass.
Yeah.
Stably exterior with hanging outside your body like a satellite viewing Earth from some distant point, and you're this magician floating around while your body sits back home. Rubbish.
Yeah.
False propaganda from the church to get your cash. People believe what they want to believe and disregard the rest. Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah, that's...
A man believes what he wants to believe and disregards the rest.
You're right. And I look at these people with, I guess I pity them that they're so hooked. And you've got to one day look in the mirror and say, hey, look yourself right in the eyes and say, I was conned. Please, if you can do that, that's your first step toward freedom. And at that point, just walk the hell away and skip any consequences that you believe is going to happen. They're going to happen anyway. It may take your family away, your children away. Fuck them. Go free. That's my bottom line. Karen, did you achieve what you wanted to today? Because I'll tell you, it's such a pleasure having you on, because even I had cognitions. Okay, awarenesses, newer awarenesses. I shouldn't use the word because people might not know what the hell I'm saying about life itself.
It's always good. There are so many topics to cover, and I'm always happy to be back, really.
And I'm overjoyed that you come back, and so are our listeners. And I think we've covered what we wanted to cover, and a little bit of education and enlightenment for our audience. Please, if you want to help in this endeavor, become a patron and keep on tuning in and getting other people to watch this program. And other than that, I'm out of words. It's been a great show, Karen. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye now. And this is Life After Scientology. I'm Ron Miscavige, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye-bye for now.